The rain fell in heavy sheets across downtown Nashville, each drop hammering against the cracked sidewalk, like tiny drummers announcing an approaching storm. 7-year-old Lily Harper stood beneath the meager shelter of a store awning, clutching a battered acoustic guitar nearly as large as herself. Her small fingers trembled against the worn wood, not from the cold, though the autumn chill had long since seeped through her thin jacket, but from fear. Her mother had collapsed at home, and Lily knew something was terribly wrong. Lily darted across the busy street, narrowly avoiding a taxi that honked furiously as it swerved. The payphone on the corner stood like a beacon. She reached up, dropped in the quarter she'd been saving, and dialed with shaking fingers. 911, what's your emergency? Please help, Lily's voice cracked with desperation. My mommy fell down and won't wake up. We live at 1432 Maple Street, apartment 4B. And a small crowd had gathered, drawn by the sight of a child alone in the downpour. A woman with kind eyes knelt beside Lily. Sweetheart, where's your mother? Before Lily could answer, she burst into song, not from joy, but from pure terror. It was what she always did when the world became too frightening. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Her clear, hauntingly beautiful voice silenced the gathering onlookers. Even the rain seemed to quiet for a moment. 20 minutes later, paramedics rushed Rebecca Collins into the emergency room. Lily sat in the waiting area, her small legs dangling from a chair, too high for her frame, watching doctors and nurses sprint past with grim expressions. Dr. Frank Wilson emerged from the double doors, his face weary but determined. He crouched before Lily, speaking gently. Your mom is very sick, but we're doing everything we can. The treatment she needs... He hesitated, then sighed. It's expensive. Very expensive. I can sing on street corners, Lily said without hesitation. I made $8 yesterday. Dr. Wilson's eyes clouded with something between admiration and heartbreak. He placed his hand gently on Lily's shoulder, struck by a determination no child should need to possess. 40 miles away in the gleaming glass tower of Empire Music Group, James Reynolds stood at the head of a polished conference table, his tailored suit as impeccable as his reputation. At 52, he commanded the room with the ease of a man who had spent decades building a music empire from nothing. His salt and pepper hair and sharp blue eyes reflected a lifetime of hard decisions and relentless ambition. Gentlemen, I appreciate the offer, James said, sliding the contract back across the table. $50 million is a respectable number, but I'm not interested in acquiring talent without soul. The executives exchanged glances. Few people turn down deals of this magnitude, especially in the struggling music industry. But James Reynolds wasn't most people. With respect, James, the visiting CEO, ventured, "This artist has topped the charts 3 times this year alone." James leaned forward. "And yet I've listened to every track, and not one of them moved me. Not one note felt authentic. Empire Music was built on discovering voices that change people. That's non-negotiable." After the meeting, James rode the elevator to the penthouse suite that crowned the building. His assistant Marcus followed, scrolling through messages on his tablet. "Your dinner with Senator Harrison is at 8, Marcus reminded him, "and Dr. Levine called about your sleep medication again." James waved dismissively. "Cancel Harrison. Tell him something came up." Marcus sighed, having expected this response. This is the 3rd cancellation this month. "And the dreams." James turned to the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching Nashville spread beneath him like a glittering carpet. "They're getting worse," he admitted quietly. The same dream had plagued him for years, a haunting melody, a baby's laughter, and overwhelming guilt that followed him into wakefulness. His penthouse was a monument to success, expensive art designer furniture, state-of-the-art, everything, yet it felt as hollow as a museum after hours. No photos adorned the walls, no mementos cluttered the surfaces, nothing to suggest a life beyond work. "You should talk to someone," Marcus suggested, his tone shifting from professional to concerned friend. "You haven't had a proper night's sleep in months." James turned, his expression hardening. "I'm fine. Just business stress." But both men knew it was a lie. The dreams had started 7 years ago, almost to the day, and had nothing to do with business. Across town, in a rundown apartment building with a perpetually broken elevator, Lily helped Mrs. Chen, their elderly neighbor, unlock Rebecca's medication cabinet. The small bathroom was cluttered with orange prescription bottles, each representing another debt they couldn't afford. Rebecca Collins lay on the faded couch, her once vibrant face now gaunt and pale. At 32, she looked a decade older, her body ravaged by treatments that weren't working. She stirred as Lily approached with a glass of water and pills. "My sunshine," Rebecca whispered, reaching out a trembling hand to touch her daughter's cheek. "You should be in bed." "I made you soup," Lily replied carefully, helping her mother sit up. "Mrs. Chen showed me how to make it not too hot." Rebecca managed a weak smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. 7 years of single motherhood had been difficult, but the past 18 months of cancer treatments had nearly broken her. Not the pain she could endure that, but watching her daughter take on responsibilities no child should bear. "The hospital called," Lily said, trying to sound casual as she arranged pillows behind her mother's back. "They said you need to come back tomorrow." Rebecca's expression tightened. Another test, another bill. The medical debt already exceeded what she could earn in 5 years at her waitressing job, a job she could no longer perform. "We'll figure something out," Rebecca assured her daughter, though she had no idea how. When she believed Lily was asleep later that night, Rebecca pulled out an old shoebox from beneath her bed. Inside lay newspaper clippings and photographs documenting a different life, a life when she was Olivia Reynolds, a promising singer engaged to rising music producer James Reynolds, before she'd fled Nashville with a broken heart and a baby growing inside her. She traced her finger over a faded photo of James, remembering how they'd once planned to build a life together, how everything had changed when his career suddenly exploded, how the pressure had triggered anxiety attacks he refused to acknowledge, how his family had convinced him a child would derail everything they'd worked for. Rebecca slid the photo back into the box, wiping away a tear. She'd kept her promise never to contact him, never to demand child support. She'd changed her name, started fresh. James had chosen his career, and she'd chosen her dignity. A soft sound from the doorway made her look up. Lily stood there in her worn pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "You should be asleep, baby," Rebecca said softly. "I heard you crying," Lily replied, climbing onto the bed. "Is your tummy hurting again?" Rebecca pulled her daughter close. "No, just thinking about old times." She smoothed Lily's dark hair, so like her father's. "Let me sing you back to sleep." As Rebecca began their lullaby, "You Are My Sunshine," neither noticed the lone tear that slipped down Lily's cheek. The little girl understood far more than her mother realized. She knew the bills piling up on the kitchen table meant trouble. She knew her mother was getting worse, not better. And she was determined to do something about it. The next morning, Rose Chen found Lily sitting on the staircase outside their apartment, plucking thoughtfully at her guitar strings. At 68, Mrs. Chen had once been a respected piano teacher before arthritis claimed her agile fingers. She still recognized extraordinary talent when she heard it. "Your mother resting?" Mrs. Chen asked, settling beside Lily with a slight wince at her aching joints. Lily nodded. "The medicine makes her sleepy." Mrs. Chen watched as Lily's small fingers formed a perfect G chord. "You play beautifully for one so young." "Mama taught me," Lily replied proudly. "She says music is in my blood." Mrs. Chen had been teaching Lily advanced techniques secretly for months, amazed at how quickly the child absorbed everything. There was something special about Lily's voice, and playing a raw, emotional quality that couldn't be taught. "I have something for you," Mrs. Chen said, reaching into her shopping bag. She pulled out a colorful flyer. "America's Dream Voice, the biggest talent competition in the country." Lily's eyes widened as she read the bold print, "Grand Prize, $1,000 to $1,000. "This is perfect," Lily exclaimed, clutching the flyer. "I could win and pay for all of Mama's medicine." Mrs. Chen's expression grew serious. "The competition is very difficult with many adult performers, but," she tapped Lily's chest gently, "you have something they don't. You have heart." Later that afternoon, Dr. Wilson delivered the news they'd been dreading. Rebecca needed specialized surgery and treatment that would cost nearly $800,000. Without it, she had perhaps 3 months. Lily stood in the hospital corridor, eavesdropping as the doctor spoke to her mother in hushed tones. The fluorescent lights made everything seem harsher, colder. She clutched the competition flyer in her pocket like a talisman. 3 months. The final competition would happen before then. It had to be fate. That evening, as Rebecca slept, Lily practiced in their tiny kitchen, her determination growing with each chord. Mrs. Chen had helped her fill out the online application, lying about her age, since the minimum was 10 years old. The preliminary auditions were in 2 weeks, just enough time to perfect her song. Lily didn't notice when her mother woke and stood watching from the doorway, her heart breaking at the sight of her daughter's fierce concentration. Rebecca knew that look all too well. It was James's look, the one he got when nothing would stand in his way. The next morning, Rebecca coughed violently in the bathroom, trying to muffle the sound. When she pulled her hand away from her mouth, bright red blood stained her palm. She quickly washed it away before Lily could see, but the reality was impossible to ignore. Time was running out. She stumbled back to bed, suddenly lightheaded. Within moments, unconsciousness claimed her body finally surrendering to what her will had been fighting. Lily found her mother, unresponsive panic rising in her throat as she called for an ambulance. In the emergency room, she sat alone, her guitar case beside her, like a loyal friend while doctors rushed to stabilize Rebecca. Hours later, allowed briefly by her mother's bedside, Lily did the only thing she knew might help. She sang their song. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. Rebecca's eyelids fluttered, then opened slowly. She smiled weakly at her daughter. My sunshine, she whispered. Dr. Wilson, watching from the doorway, felt his professional detachment crack. In 20 years of medicine, he'd rarely witnessed such pure love. He made a silent vow to help this family, whatever it took. 2 days later, the preliminary contestant list for America's Dream Voice was announced. James Reynolds scanned the names disinterestedly as the production team prepared the audition venues. As lead judge and executive producer, he had final say on every aspect of the show, though lately even this passion project felt hollow. We've got a good mix this season, Marcus noted, pointing to demographic breakdowns on his tablet. Diverse ages, background styles. James nodded absently, his thoughts elsewhere. The nightmares had been particularly vivid last night, a woman singing a lullaby, a child crying, suffocating guilt. Marcus studied his friend with concern. You know you could take a season off. No one would blame you after 7 straight years. James shook his head firmly. The show needs consistency. The audience expects me. The audience can adapt, Marcus countered. You're running yourself into the ground, James. But James had already moved on, scanning the contestant profiles. One name made him pause, Lily Harper, age 7. I thought the minimum age was 10, he remarked, frowning. Marcus checked his notes. Special exception. Her audition video was, well, see for yourself. James watched the crude smartphone video of a small girl singing with a voice that seemed to contain lifetimes of emotion. Something about her triggered an uncomfortable sense of recognition. The song choice, You Are My Sunshine, sent an inexplicable chill down his spine. Interesting, he said, keeping his voice neutral despite the sudden unease. What's her story? Marcus scrolled through notes. Singing to raise money for her mother's cancer treatment. Single mom struggling financially. James closed the file abruptly. Make sure the judges know not to give preferential treatment based on sob stories. Talent is what matters. Across town, Victoria Phillips adjusted her daughter Zoe's outfit backstage at their private rehearsal space. At 12, Zoe was already a polished performer, having trained since age 3 under the relentless guidance of her mother, a former country music star whose career had peaked a decade earlier. Remember shoulders back, smile natural, Victoria instructed, tugging at Zoe's designer dress. The camera will be on your left, so angle slightly right. Zoe nodded obediently, though weariness shadowed her young eyes. Yes, mother. Victoria checked her phone as it chimed with a notification. James Reynolds confirmed as lead judge again. She murmured, a calculating look crossing her face. Zoe recognized that expression her mother was plotting. Victoria and James had history, a brief relationship, years ago that ended when James chose another woman. Victoria had never forgiven him, though she kept tabs on his career with obsessive precision. This is your year, Victoria declared, her voice hardening. No one stands between you and that prize. What neither knew was that across town, a much younger girl was practicing just as diligently, though, with pure joy rather than drilled precision. The day of preliminary auditions dawned cold and clear. Rebecca was too weak to accompany Lily, so Mrs. Chen stepped in, bringing along her ancient Polaroid camera to document everything. The massive convention center buzzed with activity, hundreds of contestants checking in, production assistants rushing about with clipboards, camera operators setting up equipment. Lily clutched her guitar case tightly, eyes wide at the dazzling chaos. "So many people," she whispered, suddenly doubting her chances. Mrs. Chen squeezed her hand, but only one Lily Harper. They took their place in the long check-in line. Ahead of them stood Victoria and Zoe Phillips, the latter dressed in an outfit that probably cost more than 6 months' rent for Lily's apartment. Victoria noticed Lily's worn guitar case and ragged sneakers, dismissing her with a quick glance before turning back to the registration desk. "Zoe Phillips, we have a priority registration." As they moved ahead, Zoe looked back curiously at Lily. Their eyes met briefly, one child born to privilege, the other to struggle, before Victoria pulled her daughter away. When Lily finally reached the front, the registration assistant frowned at her age on the application. "7, there must be a mistake." Mrs. Chen stepped forward. "No mistake. Special exemption already approved." The assistant made a call confirmed, then reluctantly issued Lily's contestant badge. "Waiting room 3. Good luck, I guess." In waiting room 3, contestants warmed up, paced nervously, or sat in meditation. Lily found a quiet corner and began her own ritual, tuning her guitar with the perfect pitch that had always amazed her mother. Victoria, accompanying Zoe to the same waiting area, spotted Lily again. This time, she watched more carefully as the child played, her expert ear recognizing exceptional talent. "Who is that?" she asked a production assistant, nodding toward Lily. The assistant checked his list. "Lily Harper, 7 years old, if you can believe it, singing for her sick mother or something." Victoria's eyes narrowed. Something about the child seemed familiar, though she couldn't place it. "What's her mother's name?" "Rebecca Collins, I think. Used to be a singer herself." The name meant nothing to Victoria, but she made a mental note to investigate further. Potential threats needed to be neutralized early. Meanwhile, the judges took their places for the first round of auditions. James Reynolds sat center, flanked by Sophia Walsh, a pop sensation known for her sharp critiques but kind heart, and Marcus Rivera, the veteran producer who had been James's friend for decades. "Let's find a star," James announced, signaling for the first contestant to be brought in. Hours into the auditions, fatigue had set in. Most contestants blurred together, adequate but forgettable. James checked his watch impatiently. "How many more today?" "Just 3, Marcus replied. "Next up is Lily Harper." James felt an inexplicable tightening in his chest. The same unease he'd experienced watching her audition video returned stronger now. The door opened and a tiny figure walked in, guitar case nearly dragging on the floor behind her. Lily looked impossibly small under the bright studio lights, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. "Hello there," Sophia said warmly. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily Harper," came the clear reply, stronger than expected from such a small frame. "And what brings you to our stage today, Lily?" Marcus asked. Lily took a deep breath, her shoulders squaring with determination beyond her years. "My mama has cancer. She needs an operation that costs more money than we'll ever have. I sing on street corners after school, but it's not enough. If I win, I can save her life." The judges exchanged glances. They'd heard heartbreaking stories before, but something about Lily's matter-of-fact determination hit differently. James leaned forward, studying her face with growing unease. Something about her features nagged at him, the shape of her eyes, the stubborn set of her jaw. "What will you sing for us today?" he asked, his voice gentler than usual. Lily gripped her guitar knuckles white against the worn wood. "A song my mama taught me. It's about sunshine and hope and never giving up on the people you love." James felt the air leave his lungs. No, it couldn't be. Lily positioned herself center stage, guitar looking comically large against her small frame. The auditorium fell silent, except for the hum of equipment and distant crew movements. She closed her eyes, thinking of her mother's pale face in the hospital bed. When she opened them again, they blazed with determination that seemed to burn from somewhere deeper than childhood should reach. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," she began. The first note cut through the air like silk, pure and haunting. Lily's voice carried a depth of emotion that shouldn't exist in someone so young. Pain, hope, love, and desperation wove together in perfect harmony. The guitar seemed to play itself in her small hands, each chord ringing clear and true. "You make me happy when skies are gray." James Reynolds' world tilted on its axis. The voice, the song, the way she closed her eyes when she reached the high notes. Memories crashed over him like a tsunami washing away 7 years of carefully constructed denial. 7 years ago, a different life. A woman named Olivia, dark-haired and beautiful, singing this same song to their baby girl in a nursery painted sunshine yellow. The same melody that had filled their home before everything fell apart, before his ambition became more important than love. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." James couldn't breathe. The little girl on stage had Olivia's eyes, his stubborn chin. The timeline matched perfectly 7 years since he'd walked away from his family, choosing success over the responsibilities of new fatherhood. "Please don't take my sunshine away." As Lily sang the final note, letting it hang in the air like a prayer, James sat frozen, his world simultaneously crumbling and rebuilding. Sophia wiped tears from her eyes. Marcus nodded in approval, his professional composure cracking. James looked directly at Lily during the silence that followed, and for one heart-stopping moment, he saw Olivia's face reflected in their daughter's features. The same smile, the same tilt of the head. Their daughter, the baby he'd abandoned, the child he'd convinced himself was better off without him. "That was absolutely beautiful," Sophia said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have something special, honey, something that can't be taught. Incredible talent." Marcus agreed, still shaking his head in amazement. "You have a gift, young lady, a real gift." All eyes turned to James. Lily weighted her heart in her throat, everything depending on his response. The silence stretched uncomfortably long. James opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. "How do you tell a child you abandoned that she's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? How do you explain 7 years of absence in front of rolling cameras?" He started, then stopped. "That song!" He finally managed his voice, barely controlled. "Where did you learn it?" Lily smiled, hopefully encouraged by his interest. "It's my favorite. My mama says her mama used to sing it to her, and she sang it to me when I was little. She says music can heal anything, even broken hearts." The irony cut deep, their daughter trying to heal her mother while unknowingly healing the father who had broken them both. "We need to take a 5-minute break," James announced, suddenly standing so abruptly his chair scraped against the floor. He strode off stage without explanation, leaving Lily standing there, confused and heartbroken. Had she done something wrong? "Don't worry, sweetheart," Sophia called out. "Sometimes judges need a moment to process something really special." In the hallway, James leaned against the wall, head in his hands, his expensive suit wrinkled from the trembling that had overtaken his body. Marcus found him there, concern etched on his face. "James, what happened in there? Are you ill?" James looked up, his eyes wild with revelation and panic. "Get me everything on Lily Harper. Background, family, medical records, everything. I don't care what it costs or who you have to call. I don't understand. Just do it. Now." 20 minutes later, James stared at the file that confirmed his worst fears and greatest hopes. Lily Harper, born 7 years and 3 months ago to Rebecca Collins, formerly Olivia Reynolds. Medical records showing her current battle with stage 3 cancer, diagnosed 18 months ago. Financial records revealing desperate poverty, unpaid bills, and borrowed money. Olivia had taken her middle name as her first and reverted to her maiden name after their breakup. She'd never asked him for money, never tried to contact him despite having every legal right to child support. She'd simply disappeared, taking their daughter and building a new life from the ashes of their old one. Now, their little girl was here trying to save the mother he'd failed. James's phone buzzed with a text from his private investigator. "Per urgent request, Rebecca Collins admitted to Nashville General 3 hours ago. Critical condition. Doctors say days, maybe hours." The world stopped spinning. Lily was here auditioning while her mother, his former fiancée, lay dying 3 miles away. Olivia was dying, and she had no idea their daughter was standing on his stage, singing their song, trying to save her life. When James returned to the judging panel, his face was composed, but his eyes held a new intensity that Sophia and Marcus couldn't quite read. "Lily," he said carefully, his voice controlled, "tell me about your mother." Lily's face lit up, worry forgotten. "She's the best mama in the whole world. She taught me guitar when my fingers were so small I could barely hold the neck. She sings even when she's really sick, when the medicine makes her feel awful. She used to be a singer too before I was born. What's her name? James asked, though he already knew the answer would destroy him. Rebecca Collins, but she told me her stage name used to be Olivia Reynolds, back when she performed in the big venues. Sophia and Marcus didn't catch the significance, but they noticed how James's face went completely white. Olivia Reynolds, he repeated slowly, testing the name on his tongue after years of trying to forget it. Did you know her? Lily asked, hopefully, bouncing slightly on her toes. She said she used to sing in Nashville in the fancy places with real stages. James's throat closed completely. Olivia had been pregnant when he left, just starting to show. He'd been so focused on his expanding business empire that he'd missed the beauty of what they were creating together. I knew her. He managed each word, feeling like glass. She was very talented. Lily beamed with pride. I want to be just like her when I grow up. Strong and brave and kind, she never complains even when I know she's hurting real bad. James felt his heart shatter completely, each piece cutting deeper than the last. Their daughter idolized the woman he'd abandoned, and Olivia had clearly raised her to be everything good in the world. Madison, Jessica said, glancing uncertainly at her fellow judges. We've made our decision. Lily held her breath, her small hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Everything hinged on this moment, her mother's life, their future, her dreams of becoming someone who could fix everything. It's a yes from me, Sophia announced with a warm smile. You have a gift that can't be taught, and a heart that makes it shine. Yes from me as well, Marcus added enthusiastically. You sing with your whole heart, and that's something this world needs more of. All eyes turned to James, the deciding vote, the man who unknowingly held his daughter's future in his trembling hands. Lily looked at him with such hope, such trust, such pure faith in the goodness of the world, that James felt the weight of 7 years of mistakes crushing down on him. Lily, he said slowly, each word carefully measured, I need to ask you something. If you could have anything in the world, anything at all, what would it be? Without hesitation, Lily replied, For my mama to get better. That's all I've ever wanted. All I pray for every night. I don't need toys or clothes or anything else, just her. James nodded, tears threatening to spill despite his efforts to maintain composure. And you believe music can heal anything? Yes, sir, Lily said firmly. Mama always said so, and I've seen it work. When she's really sick and hurting, I sing to her, and for just a little while, she smiles like she used to. James stood up his decision, crystallizing with the force of an earthquake. Then it's yes, from me too. You're going to the next round, Lily Harper. Lily screamed with pure joy, jumping up and down her guitar case, forgotten as she celebrated. I have to call Mrs. Chen. She's going to be so proud. Wait until I tell her James Reynolds said yes. But as the production team gathered around Lily, with paperwork and instructions, James pulled Marcus aside with urgent intensity. I need you to do something for me immediately, he said, his voice brooking no argument. Find out exactly what hospital Olivia Rebecca is in. Arrange for the best oncologist in Nashville, hell, in the country to see her immediately. Money is no object, whatever it takes. Marcus stared at his friend in confusion. Why would you just do it? James commanded, his executive persona taking over. And make sure Lily doesn't know it came from me? Not yet. As Lily was led away to sign paperwork and meet with producers, she turned back and waved at the judges with unbridled joy. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds, she called out, her voice ringing with gratitude. You won't regret this. I'm going to make you proud. James watched his daughter disappear through the doors, carrying their shared song and Olivia's strength in her small, determined frame. She was right. He wouldn't regret this, but he might not survive the revelation that was coming. For the first time in 7 years, James Reynolds allowed himself to hope and to plan because he had a family to save. And this time, he wasn't going to walk away. Within an hour of Lily's audition, the best oncology team in Nashville was rushing to Rebecca Collins' bedside at Nashville General Hospital. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, one of the country's leading cancer specialists, had been flown in from Johns Hopkins on a private jet that cost more per hour than most people made in a year. Rebecca stared at the ceiling in confusion as medical staff bustled around her room, consulting charts and adjusting equipment she'd never seen before. I don't understand, she whispered weakly to the nurse checking her IV. I can't afford this. There must be some mistake. No mistake, ma'am, the nurse replied kindly. An anonymous benefactor has covered all your expenses. Full treatment surgery, everything. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. She was too weak to question miracles, too sick to investigate good fortune. All she could think about was Lily probably riding the bus, home from her audition, carrying the weight of the world on her 7-year-old shoulders. Meanwhile, James Sterling sat in his car outside the hospital, watching through tinted windows as medical staff rushed between buildings. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Olivia was somewhere in there fighting for her life, and their daughter had no idea her father was finally trying to make things right. His phone rang. Marcus's voice was efficient, but concerned. "The medical team is in place. Dr. Chen says the patient is very sick, but there's hope if they operate immediately." "Whatever it takes," James repeated, his voice hollow. "I don't care what it costs." "May I ask why you're doing this?" Marcus ventured. "I've never seen you this invested in a charity case." James closed his eyes, seeing Lily's face, hearing her voice, singing their song. "Because some debts can never be repaid, but you have to try anyway." Back at the Empire Music Group building, Victoria Phillips scrolled through contestant profiles on her tablet, pausing when she reached Lily Harper's information. Something about the child had bothered her since the audition, a familiarity she couldn't place. "Mother, can we go home now?" Zoe asked, exhaustion evident in her young voice. They'd been practicing for hours after the audition, Victoria insisting on perfecting every note for the next round. "In a minute," Victoria replied distractedly. "I'm doing research." She enlarged the photo of Lily, studying the child's features. The shape of the eyes, the determined jaw. Victoria gasped as recognition dawned. The resemblance was unmistakable. Lily Harper looked exactly like James Reynolds. Victoria quickly searched for information about Rebecca Collins, finding sparse details. Former singer. Single mother. No father listed on Lily's birth certificate. "Perfect," Victoria whispered, a calculating smile spreading across her face. She had always suspected James had left someone for her all those years ago, before he'd eventually rejected Victoria too. Now she had leverage, a scandal waiting to explode. At their tiny apartment, Mrs. Chen helped Lily unpack her guitar, the elderly woman beaming with pride. "You were magnificent," she declared, brewing celebratory tea. "I knew the judges would love you." "Mr. Reynolds seemed weird, though," Lily observed, munching on the special cookies Mrs. Chen had baked. "Like he saw a ghost or something." "Perhaps he recognized your extraordinary talent," Mrs. Chen suggested, though her perceptive eyes held a question. She had known Lily since birth, had watched Rebecca change their names and start over. She had her suspicions about who Lily's father might be, especially given Rebecca's secrecy and the child's remarkable musical abilities. Lily's phone rang, an old flip phone Rebecca had given her for emergencies. She answered eagerly, expecting news from the hospital. Instead, it was a nurse informing her that her mother had been transferred to a special unit for intensive treatment under the care of specialists. The nurse's voice was kind but vague about details. "Can I see her?" Lily asked, worry evident in her voice. "Tomorrow morning," the nurse promised. "Your mother needs to rest tonight, but she's in good hands." After hanging up, Lily turned to Mrs. Chen with confusion. "They said Mama is getting special treatment, but we can't afford special anything." Mrs. Chen patted Lily's hand. "Oh, perhaps there are more angels in this world than we realize." That night, Lily practiced her song for the next round, determined to advance in the competition. The judges had warned her that the next stage would be more challenging. She would need to perform a different, more complex piece to showcase her range. As she struggled with a difficult chord progression, frustration building, the doorbell rang. A courier delivered a package addressed to Lily Harper, sheet music professionally arranged for a small guitar with a note, "This might help. Looking forward to your next performance. Management." Lily didn't notice the handwriting was the same as the signature on the Empire Music Group contracts displayed in frames throughout Nashville. At the hospital, Rebecca drifted in and out of consciousness, the powerful medications keeping her comfortable but disconnected from reality. In her moments of lucidity, she asked for Lily only to be assured her daughter was safe and would visit soon. During one such moment, she thought she saw a familiar silhouette in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, with that unmistakable confidence. But when she blinked, there was only a doctor she didn't recognize. "James," she whispered the medication, blurring the line between memory and reality. The figure stepped back, retreating into the hallway without a word. The next morning, Lily arrived at the hospital clutching a small bunch of daisies she'd picked from a public garden. She was stunned to find her mother in a private room with state-of-the-art equipment and a view of the Nashville skyline. "Mama!" she cried, rushing to Rebecca's bedside. Rebecca looked remarkably better than she had in weeks, still pale and thin, but with a spark of life in her eyes that had been missing for months. "My sunshine," Rebecca smiled weakly, stroking Lily's hair. "Mrs. Chen told me about your audition. I'm so proud of you." "The judges all said yes," Lily reported, carefully arranging the daisies in a water cup. "Even Mr. Reynolds, though he was super weird about it." Rebecca stiffened at the name. "James Reynolds, he was your judge." Lily nodded, not noticing her mother's reaction. "He asked me about you, like if you used to be a singer." "What did you tell him?" Rebecca asked, her voice barely audible. "Just that your stage name was Olivia Reynolds." Lily replied innocently. "Was he one of your friends back then?" Before Rebecca could answer, Dr. Chen entered with her team, saving her from responding. The doctor explained they would begin aggressive treatment immediately, with surgery scheduled for the following week. "But the cost," Rebecca began, "has been taken care of," Dr. Chen assured her. "You focus on healing. That's all that matters now." Later that afternoon, as Lily was returning from the hospital cafeteria with a smuggled ice cream cup for her mother, she nearly collided with a tall man in an expensive suit, turning the corner. "Sorry," she mumbled, steadying the melting dessert. James Reynolds froze, finding himself unexpectedly face to face with his daughter in the hospital corridor. He'd been carefully timing his visits to avoid this exact situation. "Careful there," he said, his voice gentle despite his panic. He recognized the ice cream cup with a small smile. "Butter pecan. Good choice." Lily looked up, eyes widening in recognition. "Mr. Reynolds, what are you doing at the hospital?" James's mind raced for a plausible explanation. "Visiting a friend," he said finally. "How's your mother doing?" "Better today," Lily reported, still stunned to encounter the famous judge. "They're giving her special medicine. I don't know who's paying for it, though." "Sometimes people want to help without taking credit," James replied carefully. "Angels work in mysterious ways." Lily studied him with a thoughtful expression that reminded him painfully of Olivia. "That's what Mrs. Chen says, too." An awkward silence fell between them, father and daughter strangers, despite their shared blood. "I should get back," Lily said finally. "Mama's waiting for her ice cream." "Of course," James nodded. "Good luck with your practice for the next round. Remember what made your first audition special? You weren't just singing notes, you were telling a story." Lily beamed at the advice. "Thanks, Mr. Reynolds. I won't let you down." As she skipped away, James leaned against the wall, overwhelmed by the brief encounter. The parental pride he felt had no right to exist after 7 years of absence, yet it flooded through him with unstoppable force. "You can't keep this up forever," Marcus said, appearing beside him. "Sooner or later, she's going to find out." James straightened, composing himself. "Not until Olivia Rebecca is stronger. Not until we've talked." "And when will that be?" Marcus pressed. "You've been avoiding her room for 2 days." "Tonight," James decided. "I'll go tonight." Backstage at the second round rehearsals, Victoria Phillips watched as Zoe practiced with a vocal coach. Her daughter was technically flawless, yet Victoria knew something was missing, the raw emotion Lily Harper had demonstrated so effortlessly. "Again," Victoria instructed sharply. "Less technique, more feeling." Zoe sighed, fatigue evident in her slumped shoulders. "I'm trying, Mother." Victoria's attention shifted as Lily entered the rehearsal space, guitar case in hand. She watched the child with calculating eyes, noting how the production staff doted on her, offering snacks and encouragement. "Hello, Lily," Victoria said, approaching with a practiced smile. "Zoe and I were just discussing how impressive your audition was." Lily returned the smile shyly. "Thank you. Zoe sings really pretty too." "Yes, she's been training since she was 3, Victoria replied, a hint of condescension in her tone. "Tell me, does your mother attend your rehearsals?" "She's in the hospital." Lily explained, her expression falling, "but she's getting better treatment now." "How fortunate," Victoria remarked, her eyes narrowing slightly. "And your father, will he be attending the competition?" The question was deliberately casual, but Victoria watched intently for Lily's reaction. "I don't have a dad," Lily replied simply without self-pity. "It's just me and Mama." Victoria nodded sympathetically, though triumph flashed in her eyes. "Well, you certainly have a remarkable talent. I wonder where that comes from." Her probing was interrupted by the arrival of Mrs. Chen, who regarded Victoria with immediate suspicion. "Lily, they're ready for your sound check," Mrs. Chen said firmly, placing a protective hand on the child's shoulder. Victoria retreated, but not before making a mental note of Mrs. Chen's reaction. The old woman knew something. During sound check, Lily struggled with her new song, a complex arrangement of Amazing Grace that would showcase her vocal range. The stage was larger than any she'd performed on, before the lights brighter, the pressure more intense. "I can't do this chord transition fast enough," she admitted to the sound engineer after her third attempt. "Take your time," he encouraged. "Your voice is what matters most." As Lily tried again, she spotted James Reynolds watching from the shadows at the back of the auditorium. His presence made her nervous and determined in equal measure. She wanted to make him proud, though she couldn't explain why his opinion mattered so much. After rehearsal, Mrs. Chen took Lily to visit her mother at the hospital. Rebecca was sitting up in bed, looking marginally stronger despite the dark circles beneath her eyes. "Mama, I'm learning a new song," Lily announced, climbing carefully onto the edge of the bed. "It's harder, but Mrs. Chen is helping me." Rebecca smiled, though concern shadowed her eyes. "Don't push yourself too hard, sunshine. The competition isn't worth your happiness." "But it's worth your medicine," Lily replied with the straightforward logic of a child. "And I like singing anyway." As they talked, Rebecca noticed a new confidence in her daughter, a growing poise beyond her years. The competition was changing Lily, pushing her to grow faster than Rebecca had ever wanted for her child. "Has anyone been asking about me?" Rebecca questioned carefully. "Any of the judges or staff?" Lily thought for a moment. "Mr. Reynolds asked how you were doing. I saw him at the hospital today." Rebecca's heart raced, causing her monitors to beep more rapidly. She had suspected James was behind the mysterious benefactor, but hearing he was actually visiting the hospital confirmed it. "What did he say?" she asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. "Just asked how you were," Lily replied, distracted by a game on her mother's food tray. "He said angels work in mysterious ways." Rebecca closed her eyes briefly. James had always had a poetic streak beneath his business exterior, something few people ever saw. "Lily," she said carefully, "if Mr. Reynolds wants to talk to you, be polite, but remember you're there to sing, not to make friends with the judges." Lily nodded, though she looked confused by her mother's sudden tension. Later that evening, after Lily had gone home with Mrs. Chen, Rebecca sat alone in her hospital room, staring at the city lights. She heard the door open, but didn't turn, somehow knowing who it was before he spoke. "Hello, Olivia." His voice hadn't changed, still that same deep timbre that had once made her feel safe. Now it just made her heart ache with memories better left buried. "It's Rebecca now," she corrected quietly, finally turning to face the man she'd once planned to marry, the father of her child. Has been for 7 years. James Reynolds stood awkwardly by the door, as if uncertain of his welcome. Gone was the arrogant music executive, replaced by a man visibly struggling with emotions he couldn't contain. "You look," he began, but stopped, unable to find words that wouldn't sound hollow. "Like I'm dying," Rebecca supplied with grim humor. "I was until you started playing Guardian Angel." James moved closer, taking the chair beside her bed. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice breaking slightly. "About Lily, about the cancer, about any of it." Rebecca laughed, though it held no joy. "Tell you? You made it perfectly clear 7 years ago that your career was more important than our family. You changed your numbers, moved offices. Your assistant blocked my calls." James looked genuinely shocked. "What, I never told anyone to block your calls." "It doesn't matter now," Rebecca said wearily. "What matters is what you want from us now, because I'm guessing this isn't just charity." James leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I saw her sing Olivia. I heard her voice, and I knew. She's extraordinary, just like her mother, just like her father," Rebecca finished softly. "Yes, she is. I want to help," James said, his voice gaining strength. "Not just with the medical bills. I want to be part of her life." Rebecca's eyes flashed with sudden anger. "You had that chance 7 years ago. You don't get to waltz back in now because she's talented and it suits your image." "This isn't about image," James protested. "When I saw her on that stage, singing our song, it was like the universe giving me a second chance I don't deserve." "You're right about that," Rebecca agreed coldly. "You don't deserve it." James flinched as if she'd struck him physically. "I know," he admitted. "But she does. Lily deserves to know her father." Rebecca turned away, tears threatening. "She's doing fine without one. She always has. Is she? James challenged gently. A 7-year-old singing on street corners to pay for her mother's medicine, a little girl carrying adult burdens. The monitors betrayed Rebecca's agitation as her heart rate increased. Don't you dare question my parenting, she hissed. I did everything possible to give her a good life while you were building your empire. I'm not questioning you, James backpedaled quickly. I'm questioning me. I should have been there helping carry those burdens. I want to make it right. Rebecca studied him, searching for the selfish young man who had broken her heart. Instead, she saw someone older, sadder, and possibly wiser. It's too late for us, she said finally. Too much has happened. I know, James nodded. But it's not too late for Lily. Please, Olivia, Rebecca, let me help. Let me be her father. Rebecca closed her eyes, exhaustion washing over her. She's competing for us, she whispered. She thinks winning that show is the only way to save me. James's heart broke all over again. She shouldn't have to carry that burden alone. She's just a little girl. She's stronger than you know, Rebecca replied. Stronger than both of us. They sat in silence, the weight of 7 lost years hanging between them. I'm the anonymous benefactor, James finally admitted. The medical bills, the specialists, all of it. I couldn't let you die, not when I'd already lost so much time. Rebecca opened her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered, for saving my life, for giving me more time with her. It's the least I could do, James replied, but I want to do more. No, Rebecca said firmly. Not yet. Let her finish the competition first. Let her have this moment that's just hers. There will be time for truth later. James nodded understanding, but not liking it. When you're ready then, when you think she's ready. Promise me something, Rebecca said urgently, reaching for his hand. Promise me that if something happens to me, you'll take care of her. Not just financially, but really take care of her. Love her the way she deserves. I promise, James replied, meaning it with every fiber of his being. I won't fail her again. Unknown to either of them, Victoria Phillips stood outside the hospital room door, smartphone in hand, recording their conversation with a triumphant smile. She now had exactly what she needed. The next day, Zoe approached Lily during a break in rehearsals, glancing over her shoulder to ensure her mother wasn't watching. My mom is being weird about you, she confided in a low voice. She keeps asking questions and looking at your pictures. Lily looked up from her guitar, surprised by this unexpected conversation. Why would she care about me? Zoe shrugged. She gets obsessed with beating people. But she hesitated, then continued in a rush. I think your singing is really good. Better than mine, even though I've had lessons forever. Lily blinked in surprise. Really? But you sound like a real professional. That's because I practice 8 hours a day, Zoe replied with a grimace. My mom makes me. I don't even like singing that much anymore. Before Lily could respond, Victoria appeared, her smile not reaching her eyes. Zoe, darling, your vocal coach is waiting. As Zoe walked away, Victoria lingered, studying Lily with uncomfortable intensity. You know, she said casually, you look remarkably like someone I used to know, around the eyes especially. Lily shifted uncomfortably. I look like my mom. Do you? Victoria mused. I'm not so sure about that. She walked away, leaving Lily confused and uneasy. The encounter was forgotten, however, when a production assistant delivered exciting news her mother had been cleared by doctors to attend the next round of competition in 3 days. The days flew by in a blur of rehearsals, hospital visits, and nervous anticipation. James kept his distance, monitoring Lily's progress through Marcus, while focusing his energy on ensuring Rebecca received the best possible care. The night before the next round of competition, he received a disturbing call from Marcus. We have a problem, Marcus said without preamble. Victoria Phillips has been asking questions about Lily and Rebecca. Pointed questions. James felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of questions? The kind that suggests she knows who Lily's father is, Marcus replied grimly. And given your history with Victoria, she'll use it against us. James finished, remembering his brief, tumultuous relationship with Victoria years ago. She had never forgiven him for ending things, especially since he'd been honest about still loving Olivia. There's more, Marcus continued reluctantly. She's been visiting Nashville General trying to access Rebecca's medical records. Security stopped her, but she's persistent. James cursed under his breath. Increase security at the hospital and keep Victoria away from Lily. We can try, but she's a contestant's mother. She has legitimate access to rehearsal spaces, Marcus pointed out. James, maybe it's time to get ahead of this. Make an announcement on your terms. James rubbed his temples, feeling the onset of a migraine. Not without Rebecca's blessing, not yet. The morning of the second round dawned bright and clear. Lily waited nervously backstage, peeking through the curtains at the larger audience. This performance would be televised nationally, raising the stakes considerably. Mrs. Chen adjusted Lily's simple blue dress, a far cry from the designer outfits worn by other contestants like Zoe. "Remember," she whispered, "sing from here." She placed her hand over Lily's heart. Lily knotted fingers tightening around the neck of her guitar. She had practiced until her fingertips were sore, determined to master the challenging arrangement. The contestants drew numbers for performance order. Lily would perform last, a coveted spot that also meant enduring hours of anxious waiting while watching competitors. Zoe would go first, setting a high bar for everyone to follow. Watching from the wings, Lily marveled at Zoe's technical perfection as she delivered a flawless rendition of a Whitney Houston classic. The audience erupted in applause, giving Zoe a standing ovation that visibly relieved Victoria watching from the front row. One by one, the other contestants performed, each talented in their own right. By the time Lily's turn approached, her palms were sweating, her heart racing. "You'll be wonderful," Mrs. Chen assured her, straightening her hair one last time. As Lily prepared to take the stage, she was startled by a production assistant rushing toward her with a phone. "Emergency call," he explained, handing her the phone. "Hello?" Lily answered, stepping away from the noise. "Ms. Harper," an unfamiliar voice spoke urgently. "This is Nurse Jackson from Nashville General. There's been a complication with your mother. She's asking for you." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. "But I'm about to perform. Is she okay?" "She's stable," the nurse replied vaguely, "but quite distressed. She was adamant about speaking with you before your performance." "I'll call right back," Lily promised, her hands shaking as she returned the phone. She had less than 5 minutes before she was due on stage. The production assistant gave her a sympathetic look. "Family emergency." Lily nodded, fighting back tears. "My mom's in the hospital. She needs to talk to me." "We can delay your performance by 5 minutes," he offered. "There's a phone in the production office you can use." Lily followed him down a quiet corridor to a small office, where he dialed the hospital number for her before stepping outside to give her privacy. "Nashville General, how may I direct your call?" a receptionist answered. "My mom is Rebecca Collins," Lily explained frantically. "A nurse just called saying she needed to talk to me urgently." A pause. "Let me check. I'm not showing any urgent calls placed from your mother's room, and her status is listed as stable. She's actually sleeping right now, according to the last nurse's check-in 10 minutes ago." Lily frowned in confusion. "But Nurse Jackson just called me." "We don't have a Nurse Jackson on staff," the receptionist replied, concern evident in her voice. A cold realization washed over Lily. She thanked the receptionist and hung up, rushing back toward the stage. Someone had tried to prevent her from performing. She arrived backstage just as the host was announcing her name, narrowly avoiding disqualification. Taking a deep breath, Lily walked onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding her. The audience murmured at the sight of such a young contestant, many seeing her for the first time. In the front row sat Rebecca in a wheelchair, looking pale but determined, with Mrs. Chen beside her. Their presence gave Lily courage. In the judge's booth, James leaned forward anxiously, aware of how much this moment meant to his daughter, even if she didn't know their connection. Beside him, Sophia and Marcus watched with equal interest, having been impressed by Lily's first audition. Victoria sat several rows back, her face an unreadable mask, as she watched the child who threatened her daughter's chances. "Hello, Lily," Sophia greeted warmly. "Are you ready to show us something new today?" Lily nodded, positioning her guitar. "I'd like to sing Amazing Grace, but in a special way." The auditorium fell silent as Lily began to play, her small fingers moving confidently across the strings. The arrangement started traditionally, but soon incorporated elements of blues and gospel that highlighted her remarkable vocal control. When she reached the chorus, her voice soared with such pure emotion that several audience members were moved to tears. Rebecca watched with a mother's pride, though her eyes occasionally drifted to James, noting how he leaned forward, completely entranced by their daughter's performance. As Lily sang the final verse, she looked directly at her mother, pouring every ounce of love and hope into the words. The message was clear to everyone. Watching this performance wasn't about winning a competition. It was about saving a life. The final note hung in the air for a breathless moment before the audience erupted in thunderous applause. People stood cheering and wiping away tears. Rebecca sobbed openly, overwhelmed by her daughter's gift. In the judge's booth, James struggled to maintain his composure, acutely aware of the cameras trained on his reaction. He wanted nothing more than to rush onto the stage and embrace his daughter, to tell the world who she was to him. "Lily," he said once the applause died down, his voice carefully controlled. "That was extraordinary. You didn't just sing the notes, you made us feel every word." Sophia wiped tears from her cheeks. "Honey, I've heard that song 1,000 times, but never like that. You have an old soul in that young body." Marcus nodded agreement. "Technically impressive, but more importantly authentic. You're the real deal, young lady." The judges' unanimous praise left no doubt Lily Harper was advancing to the finals, becoming the youngest finalist in the show's history. As she rushed off stage to embrace her mother, Lily didn't notice Victoria Phillips slipping out a side door phone pressed to her ear. "I've got everything we need," Victoria said to the person on the other end. "Run the story tomorrow. America's Dream Voice judge, James Reynolds, hiding secret daughter among contestants. Trust me, it'll be the biggest scandal in reality TV history." The next morning, as Lily and Rebecca enjoyed a rare peaceful breakfast in the hospital room celebrating the previous night's success, James received an urgent call from Marcus. "Turn on entertainment today," Marcus instructed without greeting. "Now." James flipped on the television in his office, dread pooling in his stomach, as the headlines scrolled across the screen. "Breaking music mogul. James Reynolds' secret, father of child contestant." The screen filled with a photo of James alongside one of Lily Arrow's, pointing to their identical eyes, jawline, and other features. A side-by-side audio comparison played their voices, highlighting similar tonal qualities. Sources close to the production confirmed that 7-year-old sensation, Lily Harper, is the biological daughter of lead judge James Reynolds and former singer Olivia Reynolds, now going by Rebecca Collins. The reporter announced, "This raises serious questions about competition integrity and ethics." The report continued speculating about favoritism and unfair advantages, even suggesting the mysterious medical funding for Rebecca's treatment was hush money to keep the secret. James's phone exploded with calls from the network, his legal team, and the show's producers. The story was spreading like wildfire across social media, with viewers expressing outraged support and everything in between. He tried calling Rebecca's hospital room, but the line was busy, likely already inundated with calls from reporters. His texts went unanswered. "Marcus," James said grimly, "get the car. We need to get to the hospital before the press does." But they were too late. By the time James arrived, the hospital entrance was swarming with reporters and camera crews. Security was struggling to maintain order as journalists attempted to sneak past the front desk. James used his knowledge of the building to enter through a service entrance, taking service elevators to Rebecca's floor. He found chaos nurses trying to block reporters' security guards checking IDs, and at the center of it all, a terrified Lily clinging to Mrs. Chen, while Rebecca argued with a doctor about immediate discharge. "We need to go now." Rebecca was insisting, already dressed in street clothes, despite her obvious weakness. "They'll never leave us alone here." James pushed through the crowd, reaching their side, just as Rebecca swayed dangerously, her strength failing. "Olivia," he said, steadying her with a firm hand, "you're not going anywhere in this condition." Lily stared at James, then at her mother, confusion giving way to dawning comprehension as she processed what was happening around her. The reporters shouting questions about her father, her mother's distress, James's protective stance. "Is it true?" she asked, her small voice somehow cutting through the chaos. "Are you my dad?" The room fell silent, everyone waiting for James's response. He knelt down to Lily's level, meeting her eyes, his eyes directly. "Yes," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I am, and I'm so sorry you had to find out this way." Lily's expression cycled through shock, confusion, and something unreadable. "Why didn't you want me?" she asked, simply, the question piercing James's heart like a blade. Before he could answer, Rebecca collapsed her body, finally surrendering to the stress and her illness. As doctors rushed to her side and security finally managed to clear the room of unauthorized personnel, Lily found herself caught in an impossible moment watching her mother being taken for emergency treatment while facing the father she never knew existed. Mrs. Chen put a protective arm around Lily's shoulders as the child looked up at James with wounded, questioning eyes that demanded answers he wasn't sure how to give. The competition, the dream of saving her mother, everything Lily had been fighting for it all, hung in jeopardy as the scandal engulfed them. In the midst of the chaos, Victoria Phillips watched from a distance, satisfaction in her eyes as her plan unfolded perfectly. She had exposed the secret, thrown the competition into disarray, and potentially secured her daughter's victory, all while exacting revenge on the man who had rejected her years ago. What she hadn't counted on, however, was Zoe's reaction to discovering what her mother had done. The 12-year-old watched the news coverage with growing horror, realizing her mother had deliberately hurt a sick woman and a child younger than herself, all to win a singing competition. As doctors worked to stabilize Rebecca, as James tried desperately to protect his newfound daughter from the media frenzy, and as the competition producers held emergency meetings about how to proceed, Lily sat quietly in a private waiting room, her guitar across her lap. Her small fingers found the opening chords to "You Are My Sunshine," and she began to sing softly, seeking comfort in the only way she knew how. The melody drifted through the hospital corridors like a prayer, a child's voice somehow carrying more power than all the chaos surrounding her. It was in this moment, with everything falling apart, that Lily Harper showed her true strength. The same quiet resilience that had carried her through years of hardship. The same determination that had brought her to the competition stage. The same love that had driven her to fight for her mother's life. And it was this strength that would ultimately lead them all through the storm ahead. The hospital waiting room had become a fortress. Security guards patrolled the entrances, checking IDs, and turning away the persistent reporters who continued to camp outside Nashville General. Inside this protected space, Lily Harper sat cross-legged on a vinyl couch, her guitar across her lap, small fingers moving through chord progressions with mechanical precision. Her face remained impassive, betraying none of the emotional storm raging within. James Reynolds paced the room, pausing occasionally to check his phone as his crisis management team worked to contain the media explosion. The revelation of his relationship to Lily had dominated entertainment news for 24 hours straight, with speculation growing more outlandish by the hour. Mrs. Chen sat beside Lily, a steady presence amid the chaos. She watched James with sharp, evaluative eyes that missed nothing, the way he kept glancing at Lily when he thought no one was looking, the mixture of pride and regret that crossed his face, the protective stance he took whenever someone new entered the room. "Any update on my mother?" Lily asked, suddenly breaking the tense silence. James stopped pacing. "The doctors say she's stabilized. The stress triggered complications, but they've got her condition under control again." "When can I see her?" Lily's voice remained flat, carefully controlled. "Soon," James promised, approaching cautiously. "They're moving her to a more private room with better security." Lily nodded, returning her attention to her guitar without acknowledging him further. The silent rejection cut deeper than any words could have. Marcus entered, his expression grim as he handed James a tablet. "The network executives have made their decision." James scanned the email, his jaw tightening. "They want to postpone the finals, pending an ethics investigation." "What does that mean?" Mrs. Chen demanded, immediately recognizing the impact on Lily. "It means they're questioning whether Lily's advancement was legitimate or influenced by her relationship to me." James explained, frustration evident in his voice. "They're considering disqualifying her." Lily's fingers stilled on the guitar strings. For the first time since the scandal broke, genuine emotion flashed across her face, fear quickly followed by determination. "They can't do that," she said firmly. "I earned my place. Everyone said so." James knelt before her, careful to maintain a respectful distance. "You absolutely did, and we're going to fight this. I promise." Lily met his gaze directly, her eyes, so, like his own, filled with a complexity no 7-year-old should have to navigate. "Why should I believe your promises? You left us." The accusation hung in the air between them, raw and undeniable. Before James could respond, a doctor appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Harper," Your mother is awake and asking for you. Lily immediately set aside her guitar and stood following the doctor without a backward glance at James. Mrs. Chen moved to accompany her, but Lily shook her head. I want to go alone, she declared with surprising authority. In Rebecca's new room, larger with enhanced security and a view of the hospital gardens, Lily found her mother looking pale but alert. Rebecca extended her arms, and Lily climbed carefully onto the bed, burying her face against her mother's shoulder. I'm sorry, Sunshine, Rebecca whispered, stroking her daughter's hair. I wanted to tell you properly when the time was right. Lily pulled back, her expression serious, beyond her years. Did he really not want me? Is that why he left? Rebecca sighed, choosing her words carefully. It wasn't that simple. Your father, James, he was building his career. He was dealing with his own problems, anxiety pressure from his family. He made a choice he's regretted ever since. How do you know he regrets it? Lily challenged. Did he tell you that? Rebecca nodded. He did the night before your last performance. He came to see me to explain. He's been trying to make things right. He's the one who arranged for my treatments, the specialists. Lily absorbed this information, her quick mind connecting pieces. So he's the angel who's been helping us? Yes, Rebecca confirmed, watching her daughter process this revelation. After a long silence, Lily asked, Do I have to forgive him? Rebecca cupped her daughter's face gently. No, Sunshine. You don't have to do anything you don't feel ready for. Forgiveness is a gift, not an obligation. But you're talking to him now, Lily observed. Does that mean you forgave him? I'm starting to, Rebecca admitted. Not because he deserves it, but because holding on to anger was hurting me more than him. But your journey is your own. You take all the time you need. Meanwhile, in another part of the hospital, Victoria Phillips was being escorted from the building by security after attempting to gain access to Rebecca's floor. Her carefully constructed plan was unraveling faster than anticipated. This is outrageous, she protested as guards led her firmly toward the exit. I'm simply concerned about the welfare of a fellow contestant's mother. Ma'am, we have strict orders, the guard replied impassively. No media, no unauthorized visitors. Outside, she found Zoe waiting in their car, her expression uncharacteristically defiant. Get in, Victoria snapped, sliding into the driver's seat. We're going to meet with my publicist to capitalize on this scandal before the network makes their decision. No, Zoe said quietly. Victoria turned, startled by her daughter's refusal. Excuse me? I said no, mother. Zoe's voice grew stronger. What you did to Lily and her mom is wrong. Using someone's illness, exposing a child to media harassment, it's cruel. Victoria's expression hardened. Don't be naive, Zoe. This is how the industry works. I'm securing your future. By hurting a 7-year-old, Zoe challenged. By manipulating her mother's medical records, I heard you on the phone with your hospital contact. Victoria's shock at her daughter's rebellion quickly transformed into calculated placation. Darling, you don't understand the complexities. I understand enough, Zoe interrupted. I want to withdraw from the competition. Victoria's facade cracked. Absolutely not. Do you know what I've sacrificed for your career? The time, the money, the opportunities I gave up? That's the problem, Zoe said sadly. It was never my career. It was always yours. Before Victoria could respond, her phone rang the show's executive producer, requesting an urgent meeting. Victoria answered her professional smile, snapping back into place, even as she glared at her daughter. Back at the hospital, Marcus intercepted James outside Rebecca's room with news. The network wants an emergency meeting, all judges, key contestants, and their families. They're exploring options to save the season finale. James nodded grimly. When and where? Studio headquarters 2 hours, Marcus replied. Victoria Phillips is already on her way. Of course she is, James muttered. She orchestrated this entire mess. We have confirmation, Marcus said, lowering his voice. Hospital security caught her trying to access Rebecca's medical records 3 days ago. And a tech found recording devices planted in the waiting areas outside Rebecca's previous room. James's expression darkened. Get our legal team to prepare harassment charges and have someone compile all the evidence of her interference. Inside Rebecca's room, Lily was explaining the network's potential decision to disqualify her. But that's not fair, Rebecca protested weakly. You worked so hard. It doesn't matter, Lily declared with surprising maturity. You're getting better. That's all I wanted anyway. Rebecca studied her daughter, marveling at her resilience. What about the competition, the finals? I know how much it means to you. Lily shrugged, though the casual gesture couldn't mask her disappointment. Mrs. Chen says sometimes life isn't fair, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. A knock at the door interrupted them. James stood in the doorway, hesitating to enter what felt like sacred space. "May I come in?" he asked, directing the question to both of them. Rebecca nodded, while Lily remained expressionless. James entered, maintaining a respectful distance from the bed. "The network has called an emergency meeting," he explained. "They want all key contestants there, including Lily." Rebecca immediately tensed. "She's not facing those vultures alone." "Of course not," James agreed. "Mrs. Chen has already agreed to accompany her, and if you're feeling strong enough, I'll be there," Rebecca stated firmly, though the effort of sitting upright had already drained some of her color. James hesitated, then addressed Lily directly. "I know you have no reason to trust me, but I promise you this. I'm going to fight for your place in this competition with everything I have. Not because you're my daughter, but because you earned it." Lily studied him carefully, her expression unreadable. "Why should I believe you?" "You shouldn't," James replied honestly. "Not yet, but I hope someday I can earn back the right to make you promises." His raw honesty seemed to reach Lily in a way that platitudes couldn't. She gave a small nod, acknowledging his words without accepting or rejecting them. 2 hours later, the conference room at Empire Music Group headquarters buzzed with tension. Network executives sat at one end of the long table, legal representatives at the other. The three judges occupied one side, while Lily Rebecca, in a wheelchair, Mrs. Chen Victoria, and Zoe sat opposite. Several other finalist contestants and their guardians filled the remaining seats. The network president, Eleanor Walsh, opened the meeting with practiced gravity. "We face an unprecedented situation that threatens the integrity of America's dream voice. The revelation that our lead judge is the biological father of a finalist contestant raises serious ethical concerns." Victoria nodded emphatically, while Zoe stared at the table, visibly uncomfortable. "Several options are under consideration," Eleanor continued, "including postponement of the finals, disqualification of the contestant in question, or recusal of Judge Reynolds from further participation." "With respect," James interjected, "punishing a 7-year-old child for a situation entirely not of her making would be both unjust and a public relations disaster." "A disaster your actions created," Victoria pointed out sharply. "The competition's rules clearly state that family members of judges are ineligible to compete." "A rule that neither Lily nor her mother knowingly violated," James countered. "I had no contact with either of them for 7 years. I didn't know Lily was my daughter until her first audition. And yet you continued to judge her performances after discovering this connection," Victoria pressed, seeing her advantage. James leaned forward. "I requested reassignment immediately after confirming my suspicions. The production team has my emails proving this." Marcus nodded, sliding documents across the table to the executives. "Mr. Reynolds formally requested to be removed from judging Ms. Harper's performances on 3 separate occasions. Those requests were denied by production, who feared disrupting the show's format." Eleanor skimmed the emails, her expression souring as Victoria's narrative collapsed. "Furthermore," Marcus continued, "we have evidence that Ms. Phillips deliberately orchestrated this scandal, including attempting to access Ms. Collins's medical records illegally and planting recording devices in private hospital areas." Victoria blanched as security footage appeared on the conference room screen, clearly showing her attempting to bribe a hospital administrator. "That's taken out of context," she protested weakly. "Mother," Zoe said quietly but firmly, "stop lying." All eyes turned to the 12-year-old, who straightened in her chair with newfound confidence. "My mother has been obsessed with beating Lily since the auditions," Zoe continued. "She's the one who called Lily right before her second performance, pretending to be a nurse, trying to make her miss her slot." Victoria gasped. "Zoe, it's true," Zoe insisted, turning to Lily. "I'm sorry. She made me promise not to tell anyone." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. The network executives huddled together, whispering urgently. Throughout this exchange, Lily had remained silent, watching the adults battle over her future. Now she spoke, her clear voice cutting through the chaos. "May I say something?" The room fell silent immediately. Eleanor nodded, gesturing for Lily to continue. "I didn't know Mr. Reynolds was my father when I auditioned," Lily stated simply. "I just wanted to win the prize money to help my mom. If you think that's cheating, then I'll withdraw." But I won't let you say I didn't earn my place fairly. Her dignity and composure in the face of adult chaos struck everyone present. Rebecca reached over, squeezing her daughter's hand with pride. Eleanor cleared her throat, visibly moved. No one is questioning your talent, Ms. Harper. The issue is the appearance of favoritism. Then let the public decide, offered Sophia Walsh, speaking up for the first time. Be transparent about the situation and allow viewers to vote based solely on the performances. With James recusing himself from judging the finals, Marcus added. Eleanor considered this solution, glancing at her legal team, who nodded cautiously. There's precedent, the lead counsel confirmed. Other competition shows have faced similar challenges and opted for transparency. What about Ms. Phillips? James asked pointedly. Given the evidence of her interference with multiple contestants, surely her daughter's continued participation raises equally serious ethical concerns. Victoria began a heated objection, but Zoe interrupted her. I withdraw from the competition, she announced firmly. I want to win, based on my talent, not my mother's manipulation. Victoria's face crumpled in disbelief. Zoe, you can't. It's my decision. Zoe stated, a lifetime of suppressed independence finally asserting itself. For once, Mother, please listen to what I actually want. The room fell silent again, the interpersonal drama overshadowing the original ethical dilemma. Finally, Eleanor made her decision. America's Dream Voice will proceed with the finals as scheduled with full transparency regarding the situation. Judge Reynolds will recuse himself from scoring Ms. Harper's performance, with his voting share distributed between the remaining judges. Ms. Phillips is barred from the premises during rehearsals and the live finale. She turned to Zoe. Ms. Phillips, your withdrawal is accepted if that remains your wish after 24 hours of consideration. We would, however, welcome your continued participation under different management. As the meeting concluded, Lily approached Zoe in the hallway outside. You didn't have to quit because of me, she said quietly. Zoe smiled, looking genuinely relaxed for perhaps the first time since they'd met. I didn't do it for you, I did it for me. She hesitated, then added, but I meant what I said about your voice. It's really special. Lily considered this unexpected alliance. You sing really good too, better than me on the high notes. Zoe laughed. Maybe we could sing together sometime, without all this competition stuff. I'd like that. Lily agreed, a small smile breaking through her carefully maintained composure. As Victoria was escorted from the building by security, James approached Rebecca's wheelchair. May I speak with you privately? He asked quietly. Rebecca nodded, allowing him to wheel her to an empty office nearby. Once alone, James closed the door and took a seat facing her. Thank you, he said simply, for raising such an extraordinary daughter, for everything you've done without any help from me. Rebecca studied his face, seeing genuine regret in every line and shadow. I didn't do it for your gratitude, James. I did it because she deserved the best mother I could be. I know, he acknowledged, and I want to be the father she deserves, if you'll let me try. Rebecca sighed, the weight of 7 years pressing down on her. That's not entirely my decision anymore. Lily is old enough to have a say in who she allows into her heart. James nodded, accepting this truth. I'll respect whatever boundaries she sets, but I want you to know that regardless of her decision, my support for both of you is unconditional. The medical care, financial security, it's yours, whether she ever calls me dad or not. Why now, James? Rebecca asked the question that had haunted her for weeks. What changed? James considered this carefully. I'd like to say it was pure selflessness, but the truth is, hearing her sing awakened something. I'd buried regret, yes, but also the possibility of redemption. Of being more than just a successful businessman with nothing to come home to. Rebecca's expression softened slightly. She has your gift, you know, not just the voice, but the way music flows through her like it's part of her DNA. She has your heart, James countered, and that's worth far more than any talent I might have passed on. The week before the finals flew by in a whirlwind of preparation and adjustment. The network's announcement about James and Lily's relationship had sparked initial controversy, but the public largely rallied behind the young contestant once the full story emerged. Victoria's machinations became tabloid fodder, while Zoe's principled withdrawal earned her unexpected admiration. Lily spent her days rehearsing and her evenings at the hospital with Rebecca, whose condition continued to improve steadily. James maintained a respectful distance, though he arranged for the best vocal coach in Nashville to work with Lily on her final performance. Mrs. Chen served as an intermediary, reporting back to James on Lily's progress, while gently encouraging her to consider giving her father a chance. "He made a terrible mistake," Mrs. Chen told Lily as they walked through the hospital garden one evening, "but even old people like me and your father deserve the opportunity to learn from our mistakes." Lily considered this, plucking a daisy from the garden bed. "Did you know about him being my dad?" Mrs. Chen nodded slowly. "I suspected. Your mother kept a photograph that she thought I didn't know about. You have his eyes, his determination." "Why didn't you tell me?" Lily asked, not accusingly, but with genuine curiosity. "It wasn't my story to tell," Mrs. Chen replied simply. "But I always believed that someday your paths would cross again. Music has a way of bringing people together, especially those who share its gift in their blood." The night before the finals, Lily sat beside Rebecca's hospital bed, uncharacteristically quiet. "What's on your mind, sunshine?" Rebecca prompted gently. Lily fiddled with the edge of the blanket. "What if I don't win tomorrow?" "Then you'll have still accomplished something amazing," Rebecca assured her, "and my treatment will continue regardless. Your father has made that very clear." Lily nodded, then asked the question that had been weighing on her. "Should I talk to him, like, really talk to him?" Rebecca considered her answer carefully. "Only if you want to, Lily. Not for me, not for him, but for yourself." "I think maybe I do," Lily admitted quietly. "Not because I forgive him yet, but because I want to understand." Rebecca smiled, pride shining through her exhaustion. "That's very brave of you, and very wise." Later that evening, as Lily prepared to leave with Mrs. Chen, she spotted James sitting alone in the hospital waiting area, reviewing documents on his tablet. Taking a deep breath, she approached him. "Mr. Reynolds," she said formally. James looked up, surprise and hope flashing across his face before he carefully controlled his expression. "Yes, Lily. Can we talk before tomorrow, I mean?" James set aside his tablet immediately. "Of course, whenever and wherever you'd like." They ended up in the hospital cafeteria, sharing hot chocolate at a corner table, far from curious eyes. For several minutes, neither spoke, the silence growing increasingly uncomfortable, until Lily finally broke it. "Why did you leave us?" she asked directly, her eyes fixed on her mug. James had anticipated this question, had rehearsed dozens of answers, but in the moment, only raw honesty seemed appropriate. "Because I was terrified," he admitted, "not of you or your mother, but of failing you both. I had grown up with a father who constantly told me I would never be good enough. When I found out your mother was pregnant, all I could think was that I would be a terrible father, that I would hurt you the way my father hurt me." Lily looked up, studying his face. "So you hurt us by leaving instead." James winced at her astute observation. "Yes, it was cowardly and selfish. I told myself you'd be better off without me, but the truth is, I was protecting myself from the possibility of failure." "Did you ever think about us?" Lily asked. "After you left, every day," James answered without hesitation. "At first, I tried to forget to bury myself in work, but you were always there in my dreams, in the music I heard, in the empty spaces of my life." Lily considered this, stirring her hot chocolate thoughtfully. "My mom says you're paying for her medicine now." "It's the least I could do," James replied, "though nothing can make up for the years I wasn't there." "Are you going to leave again?" Lily asked the question, revealing her deepest fear. James leaned forward, his expression intensely serious. "No, Lily, never again. Even if you decide you don't want me in your life, I will always be there for you and your mother. That's a promise I intend to keep for the rest of my life." Lily nodded slowly, processing his words. "I'm not ready to call you Dad," she said finally. "I don't even know if I can forgive you yet." "I understand," James replied, hiding his disappointment. "You take all the time you need. There's no rush, no pressure. But," Lily continued, "I think maybe we could start by being friends and see what happens." James felt his throat constrict with emotion. "I would be honored to be your friend, Lily." She extended her small hand formally across the table. "Friends, then." James shook it gently, recognizing the monumental gift he'd just been given, not forgiveness, not yet, but the chance to earn it. "Friends," he agreed. The night of the finals arrived with all the pageantry the network could muster. The controversy had actually boosted ratings, with millions tuning in to see how the father-daughter drama would unfold on live television. Backstage, Lily prepared in a dressing room decorated with cards and drawings from children at Nashville General patients who had heard her sing during her visits to her mother. Rebecca, finally strong enough to attend without a wheelchair, sat nearby, helping Lily with her simple white dress. "Remember," Rebecca said, adjusting Lily's hair ribbon, "no matter what happens tonight, I am so proud of you." "I know, Mama," Lily replied with a confidence that belied her years. "Tonight isn't about winning anymore. It's about the music." A gentle knock interrupted them. James stood in the doorway looking uncharacteristically nervous. "May I come in?" he asked. Rebecca nodded and he entered carrying a small wooden case. "I wanted to wish you luck," he told Lily, "and to give you something." He placed the case on a nearby table and opened it, revealing a beautiful, child-sized guitar of exceptional quality. "This was custom-made," he explained, "perfect for your hand size, but with professional sound quality." Lily approached cautiously, running her fingers over the polished wood with reverence. "It's beautiful." "Turn it over," James suggested gently. On the back, small, inlaid mother-of-pearl letters spelled out, "You are my sunshine." Lily looked up at him, genuine emotion breaking through her careful composure for the first time. "Thank you. You don't have to use it tonight," James added quickly. "I know you're comfortable with your current guitar. This is just for whenever you're ready." To his surprise, Lily shook her head. "No, I want to play it tonight. It feels right." As James left to take his seat in the audience, recused from judging as agreed, Lily tested the new guitar, marveling at its perfect tone and action. It felt as if it had been made specifically for her hands, which of course, it had. The finals began with spectacular performances from the remaining contestants, each bringing their best to the national stage. When Lily's turn came, the audience fell silent, aware of the unique circumstances surrounding her participation. She walked to center stage, the new guitar gleaming under the spotlights. Rather than sitting on the provided stool, she stood tall, adjusting the microphone to her height. "Tonight," she announced with surprising poise, "I want to sing a different song. It's about sunshine and darkness, about losing your way and finding it again." The opening notes of "You Are My Sunshine" filled the auditorium. But this was not the simple version from her audition. Lily had arranged it into something entirely new. Minor chords, creating a haunting quality, her voice exploring depths of emotion that silenced the audience completely. As she reached the chorus, she looked directly at Rebecca in the front row, then shifted her gaze to James, sitting several seats away. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." She sang the lyrics, taking on new meaning in the context of their complicated family story. By the final verse, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Lily's voice carried the weight of forgiveness, not yet granted, but now possible, of a family fractured, but perhaps not beyond repair. "Please don't take my sunshine away," she finished softly, the last note hanging in the air, like a prayer. The silence that followed lasted only seconds before the audience erupted in thunderous applause. People stood cheering through their tears. Rebecca sobbed openly while James remained seated, too overcome to stand. When the results were announced an hour later, no one was surprised to hear Lily Harper declared the winner of America's Dream Voice. She accepted the trophy with grace beyond her years, thanking everyone who had supported her journey. "This isn't just my victory," she said into the microphone. "It belongs to my mom, who taught me to sing even when things were hard. To Mrs. Chen, who believed in me. To all the kids at Nashville General who showed me what real courage looks like." And she paused, then added, "And to my father who is learning that it's never too late to do the right thing." In the audience, James wiped away tears, recognizing the olive branch she had extended publicly. 6 months later, Rebecca stood on the steps of Nashville Children's Hospital, fully recovered and radiant with health. Beside her stood Lily, now 8, holding her custom guitar and beaming with excitement. James completed the trio, keeping a respectful distance, but unmistakably part of the occasion. "Today, we're launching the Sunshine Foundation," Rebecca announced to the assembled press. "Every sick child in this hospital will receive free music lessons, and their families won't pay a penny." The $1 million prize money, combined with James's substantial contribution, had made this dream possible. But for Lily, it was about more than money. It was about using her gift to heal others the way music had healed her family. "Music saved my mama's life and brought my father home," she told the reporters. "Now it's going to help other families too." That evening, the Harper Reynolds family gathered in the music room of their new house, not James's mansion or their old apartment, but something in between, a place to build new memories while honoring their complicated past. "Play something, Lily," Rebecca suggested, settling onto the window seat. Lily took up her guitar, considering her options. Before beginning a melody, none of them recognized something entirely new, composed by Lily herself. James watched his daughter with undisguised pride, marveling at her talent and resilience. She had not yet called him Dad, but she had begun including him in more aspects of her life. School events, music lessons, Sunday dinners. "That's beautiful," he commented when she finished. "Did you write it yourself?" Lily nodded, a shy smile crossing her face. "It's called Second Chances." "Do you like it?" "I love it," James replied, recognizing the title's significance. Rebecca joined them at the piano bench, forming a circle that had once seemed impossible. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "sometimes the most beautiful music comes from instruments that have been broken and carefully repaired. The cracks and seams give the sound character depth." "Like us?" Lily asked perceptively. "Just like us," Rebecca agreed, squeezing her daughter's hand. As night fell outside their windows, the small family continued making music together. Not perfect, not yet fully healed, but finding harmony in their shared journey. The song of their hearts was just beginning, with verses yet to be written and melodies still to discover. But the foundation was there, built on truth, strengthened by forgiveness and sustained by the love that had brought them back together against all odds. And somewhere in Nashville General Hospital, a child picked up a guitar for the first time, fingers awkwardly finding chord shapes as a Sunshine Foundation volunteer offered patient guidance. The circle of healing through music that Lily Harper had started would continue touching countless lives in ways she had yet to imagine. For now, though, she was simply an 8-year-old girl making music with her parents, finding her way through a complicated world with courage and grace, one note at a time.